The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into what is going to be an interesting edition of Crossed Flags. I'm Steve West. You notice that, well, there's only one camera open. Well, there's a reason for that. Matt Nicholson is out. I'll explain to that here in just a couple of seconds. We're going to be talking a little bit about Formula One. We've got a little bit of the NASCAR Challenge bracket coming up. I first want to thank producer John and, of course, producer Molly for all of their help when it comes to everything that we're doing this week. Before we get into all of the racing situation, though, as far as Matt's concerned, give you an update. This is Tuesday, July the 8th, as we record this. And yesterday, Monday, he underwent the surgery. He had his thyroid removed at a hospital here in the Birmingham metropolitan area. Everything went successful. I actually had the chance to see him for just a few minutes on Monday afternoon/evening. And surprisingly enough, he was able to talk. A little bit of a raspy voice. So it's understandable considering the fact that they were all in this area. I did see the stitching, and it's actually pretty clean, so I got to give the doctors credit on that. But yeah, he's got a voice. It's not 100%, but it's there. And he was still trying to come out of the anesthesia, so he wasn't 100% there. But he is on the rebound. Earlier today, he and his wife got to the house, so he is now resting comfortably. No ETA on a return just yet. I would not expect for this weekend, but please do keep your thoughts and prayers going for him as the recovery goes on. But yes, the surgery went well and he's back home and recovering. So there's the good news. All right, let's talk some racing stuff, and let's start with NASCAR, and let's start with that challenge bracket. We don't talk about this much on the big show on Saturdays, and there's a reason why. We've talked about it in this way. It's a gimmick. And we admit it, fully admit it, kind of a fun one, don't get us wrong. Chance of winning $1 million, something pretty cool about that. But it's not really the biggest news to us. There's certainly much bigger news, and we save that for the weekends. So we get to this challenge bracket here, and we're now 2 full in. And what we're left here with is 8. So we got 2 more rounds after this coming weekend, 3 more rounds in all. So we're going to eliminate 4 more this weekend, get down to the final 4, to borrow the NCAA tournament phrase, and then get down to the championship 2. And when you think about it, that's what we really like in this country. We like to just be able to pare it down and get into one versus the other, and that's it. But if there's something that we seemingly like about the NCAA tournament, the basketball tournament, is that we like a Cinderella, at least up to a certain point, right? And then all of a sudden we stop and we think, do I really want this Cinderella upstart team to win it all? We love when we hear of an occasional 16 seed beating a 1 seed, or in this case, a 32 seed being a 1 seed, right? We saw that in the season, in this challenge opener in Atlanta. The 1 seed was Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin didn't make it out of there alive in Atlanta, and here comes the 32 seed, and his name is Ty Dillon. Well, guess what? Ty Dillon survived another one. And he's not the only Cinderella out there. In fact, if we look at this final, or as they love to call it in the NCAA tournament, the Elite 8, we come to see that there's a few, more than just a few upset kind of guys that are in this particular area here. Ty Dillon's just one of them. We'll let John put the final 8 up there on the board here, and then that way you can see. Alex Bowman might be the favorite now. And I use that term loosely because we've seen a lot of upsets. Look down at the bottom there, you see John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones. Neither one of them is a top 10 seed. Over on the right side, Ryan Preece versus Tyler Reddick. Look at the seeding there. And then down at the bottom, finally another top 10 seed in Ty Gibbs, barely, taking on Zane Smith. This is full, and I mean chock full, of Cinderella stories, including the lowest seed in the entire tournament. I don't know how to call it. I wouldn't even begin to tell you. But if NASCAR, you can blame them or you can credit them. There's two different ways to look at this. NASCAR's way of doing this was, and this isn't a bad way, obviously, they used a few races to get some points and everything set up, and then they, based upon their performance, and of course the two winners that were eligible for it in Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe, they got the 1 and the 2 seeds. Sorry, sun's going in and out, and it's affecting the natural light here. But when you think about that, that's kind of the way it should have been done. The one in the middle was Shane Van Gisbergen, who again won at Chicago last weekend, but he wasn't eligible for the tournament based upon the 3 races before that. So then you throw out effectively 3 wild cards to begin this tournament. You throw a super speedway rules race in Atlanta, where if you were listening to the big show on Saturday, you heard 37 out of 40 entries were involved in some way, shape, or form in an accident. Only 3 made it out of there without having been involved in a crash in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not seriously, but in some way. So you have that at Atlanta. And now you've got Chicago, which is a street course race. That's a wild card by... Nobody is going to argue that being a wild card. Well, guess what? You're going to get another one this weekend. We go from Chicago, the street course, to Sonoma, the road course. And some of these drivers are better than others. Alex Bowman's a pretty good road course racer, and so is Ty Dillon. So that's going to be a pretty good matchup. You look at John Hunter Nemechek versus Eric Jones, I might give the edge. These are 2 teammates, by the way, so that means that Legacy Motor Club is guaranteed to get a driver in the Final 4. I'm going to give a slight edge to Eric Jones on this. He's a little bit better at being able to handle a car in these odd conditions. Ryan Preece versus Tyler Reddick. Ryan Preece is a great short track racer, and short track racing does tend to lend itself pretty well to road course racing or street course racing, as witnessed by what Ryan Preece was able to do last weekend in Chicago with the top 10 finish. But who was the guy who was the fastest with the laps winding down? It wasn't the winner Shane Van Gisbergen. It was the guy that Ryan Preece faces, Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is a fantastic road and street course racer. This might end up being luck of the draw, and if you can keep your car clean throughout the whole race. And that brings us to Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs versus Zane Smith. Zane Smith has not proven himself. And Zane Smith is also in a car, Front Row Motorsports, which his particular car hasn't proven to be that strong all year long. But every once in a while we see spurts. I got to give the edge to Ty Gibbs because think about who finished in the 2nd position last weekend at Chicago. Are those my predictions? I'm giving you who I think is favored. I'm not predicting this. Not with the 32 seed out of 32 cars alive. I can't give you a prediction on that. But those are your 8. We'll talk about them again next week on next week's edition of Crossed Flags. Am I going to be solo on that? Time will tell. All depends on what Matt and his doctors have agreed for. The other situation that I want to talk about is actually a very cool one. And I'm going to preface this by saying we're going to dive into this a little bit more on the big show come this weekend. If you look at the top 10, you can look at it and go, okay, yeah, I kind of could have figured most of the guys that are in there, they're either good road street course racers or they're good short track drivers. Witness what I said about Ryan Preece a minute ago. But expand that out to the top 20. And sitting down there in 19th is one lady by the name of Catherine Legg, who, got in by the skin of her teeth in qualifying, mainly because Corey Heim cracked up his car in qualifying. That's on him. So since Corey Heim basically took himself out of qualifying, Catherine Legg gets in. She starts 33rd, and she takes a car that is, by and large, not one of the upper-tier cars. It's not really even a good mid-range car. It's Live Fast Motorsports. That number 78 car is a part-time car now, and it's an open car, obviously. Doesn't have a charter. And she's able to slowly, methodically, and systematically through pit strategy and just sheer and utter talent on her part, work her way up and finish 19th. And she's the first female in 7 years to claim a top 20 finish in NASCAR. You can pretty much guess who that lady was, as Danica Patrick was on her final legs in the Cup Series. Congratulations to Catherine Legg. It breaks a long string of not having a female driver finish inside the top 20. Well, speaking of ending streaks, you might remember in 2001, that fated Daytona 500 where we lost Dale Earnhardt. Remember who won that race? Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip has still to this day the longest career run of races run in what we call the Cup Series now, just the Cup Series, not Winston Cup, Nextel Cup, Sprint Cup, nothing like that. In what we just call the Cup Series this day, he has the longest streak of winless starts until claiming a win at just shy of 500. That's a long time to go without being able to claim a win. And then he finally gets one in the Daytona 500. He ends up with 3, 1 at Talladega, 2 Daytona wins. Now, Nico Hülkenberg, the Formula One driver, he has a somewhat more ignominious streak to begin his career. And he holds the Formula One record for number of starts in Formula One without claiming a podium finish. Now, what does that mean? What is a podium finish? It's top 3. He didn't even have to win. He just needed to finish top 3. Longest streak to begin his career without claiming a top 3 podium finish at just shy of 250, as you can see right there. And he far outstrips second place. That's the all-time list right there. There's a lot of drivers out there who have gone all their career without claiming a win. Nico Hülkenberg has no shame in that. Nico Hülkenberg really has no shame in this either. Because if you think about the team that he did this with, this is that Stake Kick Sauber organization that's about to turn into the Audi organization beginning next year. This is a team that, as a team, didn't matter who the driver was, has not claimed a podium finish since 2012. We'll dive into that a little bit more on the big show on Saturday as well. So congratulations to Nico Hülkenberg. Maybe one of the more certainly popular, but definitely talented drivers to have never claimed a podium finish until last weekend. It's an impressive run because think about where he started the race. 19th position. 19th. And he was just able to work his way up through the crowd and through the field and suddenly finds himself in 3rd. That's F1 the movie stuff right there. If you haven't seen F1 the movie, it is fun. It's enjoyable. Stretches the lines of credulity a little bit because when you stop and think about what they do in the movie, and I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it and are planning to, but let's just say that the storyline that they came up with, never going to happen, not with 9 races. But Sauber doing a fantastic job of working with what they've got and with their talented driver. His teammate's rookie, Gabriel Bortoleto. Gabriel Bortoleto the week before was just able to squeak inside the top 10 and claim his first F1 championship points. What Nico Hülkenberg did far outshines what Gabriel Bortoleto did. Congratulations to Nico. Congratulations to Gabriel. Congratulations to the Sauber team, which is about to become Audi. Audi's got to be pretty happy with what they're seeing right now, knowing that they've got a talented young driver and they've got a really talented veteran driver who's come in and proven that he can actually wield their race car. And if they give him a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, they can claim a win. I'm not going to say it's going to happen by the end of the year. I'm not going to say it won't. A couple of things luck-wise might occur in there, and suddenly Sauber could find themselves in victory lane, but that's a bigger stretch to me. but Nico Hulkenberg is a talented driver. Gabriel Bortoleto is young, but he's showing some really, really good signs when it comes to that car, in a car that really suddenly has become a mid-marker car. Used to be a back marker. Now it's in the mid-range. Who would have figured that? So congratulations to Sauber. Congratulations to Nico Hulkenberg. And yeah, congratulations to Gabriel Bortoleto. And for the guys over in the halls at Audi, you know that they're very, very happy. All right, so what we've got in our situation is, once again, we've got an interesting situation where we're watching for Matt, who may be back sooner than the end of the month. Really good stuff there. NASCAR is going out to Sonoma for another road course race. And the IHRA is in action. We get to talk about them coming up this weekend as well. Plus, on the big show, we'll kick it off with this bit of news unless something bigger comes along. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem's talking about the engine and the future engine that may show up in the bays of Formula One cars. I'll give you this spoiler. The V10 appears to be out. But may not be the worst news of all time. We'll have that for you on the big show coming up this weekend. We continue to send our thoughts and prayers out to Matt. Thank you very much to producer John. Thanks to producer Molly. Don't forget to subscribe down below, whether you're subscribing to CRN Live on YouTube or to Jocks 94.5 YouTube TV. Please do so. And of course, comments are always welcome. We appreciate you, and we hope you join us this coming Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. And until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you Saturday morning.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.